You are getting ready to listen to the voice of Dr. Rhadi Ferguson, 2004 Olympian, four-time national judo champion, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, author, speaker, and coach.
And if you keep up the stuff that you're doing, you're going to have some general admission problems. And I don't want general admission problems to happen to anybody. But the general admission problems are going to happen when you're having a discussion with people and you believe that the discussion is over because you think it is. The discussion isn't over because you think it's over. Sometimes the discussion is over when the discussion is ended. It's my small piece of advice. Don't coach in these or referee in these other countries and think that because you referee over there, it's the same as over here. It is not. We have problems in the United States. Clearly, we have issues in the United States with the stuff that we have going on in our schools and stuff. The United States is a different place. So don't bring that stuff that you do in them other countries over here because it's not going to end the same for you. So just be mindful. That's what I got for you. Every place has its own set of biases. The United States has its too. I'm not saying the United States is perfect. It's the perfect place for me. Now, let me go on to the next portion. When you're refereeing, understand, like I said before, when you ref, you come from certain places and spaces. When I grew up and I was on the playground, I used language that I wouldn't use today. I called people who were homosexual the wrong word. I did. I called white folks out their name. I did. I said things to other people that I shouldn't say. I did. Why did I do this? Because when I was a child, I spake as a child and I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. I did. Those are the things. I did those things. I'm not proud of myself for doing those things. But I did those things, and I'm here to admit that I did those things. Now, here's the problem. The problem is when you all who are refereeing don't admit the things that you say behind closed doors, the things that you do behind closed doors. Your political party and your political affiliation, those create biases. What you say about judo, good judo and bad judo and good time, what you say, I don't like Newaza, those things that you say, those create biases. Your biases are brought out on the mat. There's some of you all who referee, and I'm spending a good amount of time on refereeing before I move over to the tournament experience. There's some of you all who are refereeing who you can't even teach a grip fighting exchange or a sequence. You don't know any. You don't know one. You can go to gripfighting.com. You can do the seminar. The seminar that I did with Gary Berliner, it's 100% free. All right? You can watch it. It's like 4 hours. You don't have to pay nothing. But you can't even teach a grip fighting sequence. You wouldn't know how to teach a grip fighting sequence or the offshoots of the sequence you just don't. You can't. You don't. The new developed techniques, some of y'all don't even know them. You don't know them. You don't know any of them. You have a fourth, fifth, sixth degree in judo, and outside of a senkaku turnover, your newaza ability is zero. You can't even see the setups for the moves happening, many of you. And what happens is when you get into the chair or you sit in the seat and you watch the judo or you're refereeing, you can't make quality decisions based upon things that you don't know. You can't. And when you're biased, when you come from a country, all right, in the United States, all right, 78% of the population is a certain way, looks a certain way. When you come from a country when that number for you is almost at 90% or 85%, or you live in a neighborhood, when you walk around and your neighbors, it's at a split of 90-10 or 95-5, you think a certain way about a certain group of people. I will say this. I'm going to use my friend as an example. I have a friend by the... I don't know why you mentioned Travis Stevens, Joe Sharvin, but I don't... Here's what I would say. People ask me about Travis Stevens all the time. I'm going to go back to what I was saying. People ask me about Travis Stevens all the time. And here's what I tell them about Travis Stevens. I said, I love Travis Stevens. Travis Stevens is one of my favorite judo players. Travis Stevens will go through the same development that I've been through and the same development that everybody that has done what he's done is going through. Travis Stevens, there's a reason why world-class athletes don't hang around other people. They think differently, they act differently, they speak differently. He's just different. And now that he's had a kid and he's married, he will mellow out over the years. As his testosterone levels go down, as every male species, as it happens, he will mellow out some and he will change. He is not all the way mellowed out yet. And you can't cheer Travis on for getting a silver medal and then be mad at Travis for Travis being who Travis is after the silver medal. Travis is who Travis is. People say, well, Travis has said some bad stuff about you. And Travis didn't say anything bad about me on the internet. Travis gave his opinion of me on the internet. I value Travis's opinion about as much as I pay for it. That's not bad. Travis won't pay for my opinion. I won't pay for Travis's opinion. That doesn't mean I dislike Travis or Travis dislikes me. Travis has his opinion of Rhadi Ferguson, and I don't value his opinion of me, but I respect his opinion when he gives it. I don't respect it enough to pay for it. Do I think he's an excellent judo player? Yes. Do I think he's an amazing person? I don't know Travis to make that assessment. Do I believe that Travis has helped some people? Yes. Do I think that he's going to be an amazing father and a wonderful husband? Yes, and I do hope so. And I have nothing bad to say about Travis Stevens. I love Travis just like I love you people who are listening. Now, let me go back to this. In the refereeing space, the education is important. Tara Knott Cunningham, Olympic gold medalist from 2000 weightlifting. I don't know how long you're going to be here, but I want to say it's a pleasure to have you here. And I was younger when I was watching you at the Olympic Training Center, and I really appreciated the way that you carried yourself with just a superb amount of honor and grace. That's what I got for you. Hope things are going well for you, Tara. So on the refereeing side, I think that education is like super, super, super important, because I don't think that referees understand the impact that they have on the athletes and the parents. Now, let me say this. Let's talk about the bias that exists inside of the refereeing corps. When you're having a testing event for the referees, people are trying to test, to pass a test, and certain referees are grading the other referees. It's very difficult for the referees on the jury, if they're a lower level, to overturn the call of the referee who was on the mat. And it's very difficult for the referee who's on the mat to reject the call of the referees that are at the table. There are some A-level referees that when they're on the mat, they're not even concerned about the lower level refs at the jury calling anything in, because they just won't do it. Now, what happens with this is there are certain times when calls should be turned, calls should be changed, but nobody says anything because a person's personal directives and objectives are more important than the directives and objectives of the person on the mat. Like, if I pay money and I came to town in order to get my refereeing certification, I am not going to fight for this kid at risk of upsetting this A referee. This kid just takes that loss, goes to the next round, he's mad, but I got to get what I came for. This happens. I think that there's a communication problem, or there's an inability for people to communicate who are lower level refs to higher level refs inside of the competitive space when it comes to communication at a tournament. That's just what I've seen, and I'm going to leave it at that. Now, my experience at the U.S. Open and the USJAJF Championships. At the USJAJF Championships, we have an opportunity with the divisions that are, I think we have an opportunity to run the tournament differently using a software called Smooth Comp. I've been to a lot of jiu-jitsu tournaments. I've been to some judo tournaments. like the ATJA nationals that brother Joshua is running in Atlanta this weekend, where they use Smooth Comp. Smooth Comp is the best system to use. The matches actually come on your phone. You can see when you're up next. You can see the match numbers. It has to be the smoothest software available. Now, here's the thing. If all tournaments based upon the packet, all right, are modified IGF rules, and we make modifications, because we make modifications that allow people to talk from the chair. We make modifications by making the tournament modified double elimination and not repercharge. If we make these modifications, let's make the modifications to make the tournament run smoother. Not knowing what mat your kid is fighting on, running from mat to mat to mat, checking the monitors, having the monitors become unplugged when somebody kicks the plug. None of these things are at the fault of the tournament director. That's not why I'm talking about the tournament experience as a coach. Let's use a software that is easy to use, where everybody knows when they're going, they know their match number, they know when they're up. You had the sheet, but there was no match numbers on some of the sheets. I know in the USJF, JAJF, there was no match numbers, and you didn't know what mat you were on. It was hell looking at all the mats trying to find out where I needed to go. I mean, it was a miserable experience, absolutely miserable. And then the U.S. Open, the same thing. It just seems a little disorganized when it could just be way better organized with some of the other software packages that I've seen. Now, let me talk about what went amazingly well. The registration experience at both tournaments went amazingly well. I think a lot of people pre-registered online. The online registration experience was great. I don't think that there's no reason for a registration packet to have 40, 50, 60 pages to it. There's just no reason. There's no reason. There's no reason. That it's overwhelming. There's no reason to have a packet that has that many pages to it. I mean, there's just no reason to have that. It's absolutely no reason. It's a cumbersome process. It's nonsensical. I felt like I was trying to put in to defend my dissertation. I mean, there's no reason to have a 35, 40-page application for a national championship. There's just no reason. It doesn't take all that. Registration went well. I would have appreciated having 2 seamstresses when it came to the sewing on the back patches. But that process went pretty smooth too. As usual, the party at the end of the U.S. Open was absolutely fantastic. It was a great way to fellowship at the end. But I think that Jerry Navarro does very well, that USA Judo misses at the U.S. Nationals is, okay. Yeah, I'll talk about that, Chuck. That is a fact. I think what Jerry Navarro does very well, the USA Judo Nationals doesn't do well, is that there needs to be some type of culminating experience for the practitioners at the end, either a party or maybe in the middle of the day or at the hotel, a brown bag Q&A session where you have some Olympians that are talking with the younger kids, or with some of the other athletes, maybe the day before or afterwards in the evening, just so we can create more of an experience. I think there needs to be some meetings, and there needs to be coaches and referee meeting, not a coach. We need a coaches meeting and we need a referees meeting. But I think sometimes we may need a coach referee mixer or something like that, where we can kind of close the chasm and the divide between the coaches and the ref, because the chasm and the divide is huge. And we need a place and space where somebody can talk to somebody, man to man, woman to woman, man to woman, where I can say, hey man, I didn't appreciate that shit that you did. And I didn't fucking like it. And somebody can say, hey man, I'm sorry that you didn't like it. Here's why I was on it. And then you know what? We can bang heads a little bit, hash it out, and shake it. We don't have to agree. We could be agreeable. We can come to some level of synthesis. And he can say, well, what you didn't understand about the call was X, Y, but don't tell me, oh, I don't remember, I didn't see it. No, don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. Don't do that shit. We all remember the egregious calls of the day. We all remember the punching of the face that happened this past weekend. We remember we remember all those things. Everybody remembers these things. Okay. So let's create something that we can reduce the chasm or divide that happens right now. And I'm not saying that's on Jerry or on anybody. I think that's on, I think it's on all persons. Personally, I would appreciate if we stop parading the refs out in front of the people. The referees are referees. They work the tournament. I don't need to, there's no level of I don't know, upfrontness or putting people, that doesn't happen in any other sport. It doesn't need to happen in the US either. The referee's ref. Man, you sit your ass down at the table, you fuck a ref, you pick up your little lunch and your little coffee and your donut or whatever they got for you, or your little piece of hand money, or you don't, and then you leave. I mean, that's just what it is. The referee's ref, coach is coach, players play, and we all pay to do what it is we do, and we only get paid if we run a business from it. That's just how it goes. I'm cool with anything else. Those people, I'm down with those individuals who have refereed at the Olympics or the Paralympics. Yeah, they are the highest level that we have available. Like the Olympians are the highest level that we have available, and we put them in front of people as exemplars in the sport. But parading every referee out in front of everybody would be the same if I put every parent out. And let's thank all the parents. Let's put all the parents on the mat. Let's thank all the, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. The referees need to understand their fucking place in the whole goddamn sport. And it ain't at the top. You ref. You help the sport. You're not a demigod of the sport. And that's what it is. And in the United States, it's very different than Europe. When a call is made in the United States, you don't have the final say in the U.S. unless we change the rules. There's a reason why we have flags. There's a reason why the coaches can run over to the table. I don't give a fuck about that, all the rest of that shit. You're in the United States. In the United States, people have something called, out of all the sports, okay? I don't care what the sport is. In the United States, there's a thing called due process that permeates the fabric of every sport, of everything, of every DMV, of every school, of every elementary school. We have something called due process. You don't just get to do the thing and then somebody can't question you on the thing. That's just not how it works in the United States. Fortunate or unfortunate, whether it makes it a long day or a short day, I don't have nothing to do with that. This is the United States. If I'm in Europe or somewhere else, I play by the rules in Europe. In the United States, you got due process. Coach sees something that's egregious, people don't agree, man, the dude is going to walk across the mat and ask you to see the fucking monitor. And you need to fucking show them the fucking monitor. Just like they would do in wrestling or something else. This is the United States of America, man. People pay a lot of money to come to these things and do that. And if you don't agree, you don't have to agree. People have a way to help you agree. Listen, the matrix will balance out. If you don't agree, you don't have to agree. Somebody will make you agree. And then you can peruse the due process of that situation. It's okay. It's okay. For me, I would try to be as nice and agreeable as possible. You can't look at every match and every fight. No, you can't, but you know the ones that you should look at and you know the ones that you disregard. And the one thing that I didn't appreciate this past weekend was the referees were disregarding people when people were trying to make a petition for things. And we don't do that in the United States. Now, let me say this. Chuck Wall did mention something. And I've seen this in Europe too, Chuck. I've seen the mess of the weigh-ins on the men's side. I think that when we know that we have that many competitors on the men's side, I think we may need 2 weigh-in stations for the men, or there may be a small period of time where we need to convert. Like, you can check your weight, but then there may be a time when we cut the check-in off because it's time to weigh. And what I would say for parents and coaches is, if you're an athlete that has a problem with weight, bring your own scale. I tell my clients this: bring your own scale to the weight check-in scale, and then calibrate your scale with that scale. So if you know it's 0.1 up or 0.1 down, or half a pound heavy, half a pound light, check it several times so that now you know what your scale is supposed to have on it at the in your hotel room. Because I think, like what Chuck Wallace said, I think that when weigh-ins begins, converting one of those rooms into a weigh-in room for the weight classes that you know are, like, there are certain weight classes that are bigger than others. You're 73, 66, they're bigger than others. So 60, 66, 73, and 81, just have them all in one room, and then all the other weight classes in the other room. Makes the weigh-ins quick and easy. There are not as many practitioners on the women's side as there are on the men's side. We've talked about that, and I've had that discussion earlier. We know that when it comes to weigh-ins, I think if we govern ourselves accordingly, it keeps the process a little bit smoother. That's just my twos and views from it. What tournaments get free services when they walk away, they leave. I agree, Bobby. I'm with you. Tournaments get free service. The tournament is a business. The tournament gets a free service because the parents pay, so the tournament gets paid, so it's free. That service, the tournament gets paid because the competitors compete, and then people watch and they entertain. That service is also free. The tournament gets free services because the referees ref, and they ref so that the matches can be done. That service is also free. The hustle to the whole thing, of the magic of running the business, or the magic of running any business, is here's what I told some of my students before, because some old dude broke it down to me. All right, and this is game for everybody watching. In every relationship, you need to understand if you're the pimp, if you're the hoe, or if you're the John. In every relationship. And a lot of people get it confused what their role is, and they think that there's something they're not. Like, I told one of my students, I said, when you're in the classroom setting at the school, I say, what's your role? He said, I'm the John. I said, and what's the teacher's role? He said, the teacher's the hoe. I said, right. And who's the pimp? I said, the principal. I said, but the hustle is the teacher got you trying to feel like they're the what? He said, the pimp. And you the what? He said, the hoe. I said, right. I said, and therein lies the rub of the personal dynamics of the personal dynamics. Therein lies the rub of the personal dynamics of the conundrum of the communication situation. See, when the referee is on the mat, the referee wants to make everybody believe that they're the pimp. The referee is the hoe. The tournament director is the pimp. And as a coach, I'm the John. The players are John. The referee trying to make me feel like I'm the hoe. Like, I'm not the hoe in the relationship. You the hoe in the relationship. I'm the John, because I'm paying for an experience or a service that I paid for. Your job is to deliver a service, and a good one, so that the experience is good enough that I call upon you again because I like your service. If you don't want to hoe no more, then don't hoe. But don't get mad at me because you're hoeing, because you're hoeing. You're a hoe. And the person who's pimping you needs to make you feel good as a hoe. So what do? They dress you out. They make sure you look nice. They give you stuff to eat. They pat you on the back. They tell you did a good job. You hoeing, my man. That's what it is. It's okay. All of us then hoe. All of us hoe. When you go to work, listen. When I go to the dojo, all right, as much as I would love to believe I'm the pimp in the situation, I'm leasing the building. So the dude that I'm paying the rent to, that's the pimp. I'm the hoe. I'm teaching. My students and the parents, they're the job. My job is to come, let them have a great experience. When they leave that experience, they come back and they give me more money because I'm hoeing. Now, my job is to become what they call the bottom bitch and get me some other people in there working too so that I don't have to do all that hoeing. But I'm hoeing. And some of y'all refs don't understand. Y'all hoes. The tournament director is the pimp. You're a hoe, and the people who are paying to come to the tournament to compete, they're the Johns. That's it. So don't be running up on me like you're a pimp. You ain't no pimp. You're a hoe. Be a good hoe. Ain't nothing wrong with being a good hoe. You can make good money. You can scale up the ladder being a good hoe. But in every relationship, there's a pimp, there's a hoe, there's a John. When I go buy a car from a dealership, I understand that the salesman coming to me, talking to me, the salesman is a hoe. He is not the pimp. I talk to him like a hoe. I treat him like a hoe. I respect the hoes. I don't beat them hoes up. I caress them hoes. I let them hoes feel like they be in love. And them hoes need to make me feel like I'm having a good time too. Because they hoeing. Their job is to make me feel good and I give them money. Y'all hoeing. And if y'all walk away from hoeing, guess what? There'll be more hoes available. Because Johns will always be willing to turn a trick. That's just what it is, my man. It's nothing personal. I didn't put y'all up on too much game today. And that's the thing. And here's why, and Danny, do I sometimes disagree with Jerry Navarro? I do. But I run my own business. And I understand that Jerry got a bunch of moving parts. So his stuff it's never going to be perfect. And I understand that Jerry's the pimp. And pimping ain't easy. So he got a lot of stuff that he's doing during the day. I ain't trying to bug Jerry about nothing. I'm complimenting Jerry. I appreciate Jerry. Because let me tell you something. I've never felt the pimp slap from Jerry. And I don't want to feel the pimp slap from Jerry because let me tell you something. If you don't, you might complain about the U.S. Open and you might complain. But if Jerry says, you know what? Don't ever come back to the U.S. Open again. Bam! And he put that pimp slap down on your ass. You will feel it. Because he can always get some more Johns and get some more hoes. Because he is a pimp. And that's just what it is. And I'm not going to Jerry, giving Jerry no bunch of shit. I'm not going to do it. Just not going to do it. And I don't like, listen, Jerry gives me shit sometimes and I don't like it. But you know what I do? Man, I take it, man. I take it. Why? Man, listen, I'm not the boss man. I'm not, the amount of money that Jerry's putting down in that tournament that he's kicking out, my man. And out of all the people that have come to that tournament, if you run the percentages, more people have had good experiences than have had bad experiences. So, man, based on the numbers, Jerry's doing an amazing job. I like the way he has his family involved. He got his wife involved. He has his kids involved. They all do the best they can with what they got going on. I've been around Jerry, known of Jerry since I was a kid doing judo in Miami, Florida. That's all I got. I didn't come here, as I close, I didn't come here, let me say this. I didn't come here, I didn't complain about the U.S. Open. I didn't come here, I didn't complain about the USJA or JF Nationals. I came here to talk about, most and more importantly, judo in and of itself is a game. Within that game, we have referees. I did come to speak about the referees. I didn't come to complain about referees. I came to speak about referees and that everybody needs to examine themselves and their own personal bias before they get on the map. I also spoke about the understanding of judo in and of itself as a game. You need to understand game theory. I also spoke about contextually, these tournaments what I'm talking about exist within the United States. You can say what you want to say. The United States has a thing called due process to it. And we have a belief system of meritocracy, whether I believe it's a farce or not. We have meritocracy. We have due process. If you don't think due process exists in the United States, try to screw somebody over an Olympic trials position, and you will notice months of arbitration. And if the arbitration doesn't get resolved, nobody goes. So they get arbitration, they get lawyers, because people have due process. Your decision is not the final decision. An arbitrator's decision is the final decision. Then you are just one step in the arbitration process. If this particular thing wasn't arbitrary and we really needed to fix it, then people would get involved, lawyers would get involved, money would be spent, and then they fix it, because we have due process in the United States. I also said there's a socioeconomic hurdle that is set up with the sport of judo that doesn't allow little Leroy and his mom and dad to come there, the same people who live in Chicago or live in Perrine or Richmond Heights and Miami, Florida, that have their sons or in Pee Wee football or have their kids in summer basketball. If you had those same parents that only paid $20 to $40 to get an event, that would come to a judo event, that would see you act the way that you do, they would go to their car and they would get some act right fixer, all right? And when they come back, everybody in the building would act right, and the thing would be shut down so that everybody can understand how the behavior needs to be from here on. We don't have those issues or those problems because we have a socioeconomic sieve that weeds and strains those people out. I will tell you, fix your behavior, because the probability of you running into one of those type of people at some time in your life is pretty high. And all you need is to run into somebody who got a divorce, lost their house, has a cancer diagnosis, trying to spend their last money to go to this tournament to make their kid feel good, and then they want to go to Disney World after, and now you've ruined their weekend. Okay, just be mindful. These things happen. Okay, those are the things that I'm talking about. I'm talking about having a higher level of respect for everybody and all persons involved. And let me say this: at the end of the day, I have ended my discussion with the three things that you need to understand. No matter how vulgar you think it sounds, I didn't get into anything sexual. You need to understand that in every relationship, there's a pimp, there's a hoe, and there's a John. And you need to understand where you are in that relationship and stop trying to act like you're a pimp when you're a hoe.